It was another fantastic performance for Burrow, and it was another loss. 38 points for the Bengals in this one, and it wasn't enough to get the victory. They were at home. They were wearing the beautiful black on orange uniforms. I mean, the vibes couldn't have been better for them to pick up a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They scored 38 points, and it still just was not enough. Burrow, 5 big-time throws in this game, playing so well. Another grade in the 80s for him. Seth, it just feels like he's been playing the position about as good as any quarterback in the NFL this season, and we're all sitting here saying, like, wow, if the team would be better, he'd be having an MVP caliber year. Well, if we're all saying that, can we just, call it for what it is? Can we call it an MVP caliber season? What have you seen from Joe Burrow this year and another game that feels like it's been wasted on this Bengals season?
So my hot take here is that, I don't think, this isn't the hot take. The hot take is not that he's playing the best he's ever played. I think that's pretty clear. But I think the hot take is that this is the Joe Burrow that everyone thought was Joe Burrow for the first 4 years or 5 years of his career. But look at him. He's he's super smart and he's making all these plays with his legs and he's moving around and stuff. Like, this is the closest to LSU Joe Burrow that we've gotten in terms of his playmaking ability. He is unstoppable now in terms of moving around, feeling his way through the pocket, making plays on the run, not taking sacks. He's on a different level right now. And yeah, he's in the tier 1 of quarterbacks. And it's just too bad that this team just can't draft well or can't figure out a free agency plan, especially on defense or on the O-line. But again, he's neutralizing the issues that they have on the offensive line to a certain degree. You can only get away with it so much, but he's neutralizing those issues. He just can't neutralize any of the issues they have on the entire defense. And I look at a team like the Chiefs where, Mahomes is not the guy that he was, from 2018 to 2022, let's say. And they're 11-1, 10-1, whenever they are. They won the Super Bowl last year because they've found players. They've continued to draft well on defense. They've continued to find players on defense in free agency, and the Bengals haven't done that. And that's just not fair to how good they are on offense. And it's also not fair to Lou Anarumo, who's obviously a good defensive coordinator, who just doesn't have the pieces to put in good positions. That's too bad. And yeah, he should be a contender for the MVP. Obviously he won't be because he's playing at such a lights out level and it's super fun to watch.
In the 3 games or the 3 seasons in which Joe Burrow has played an entire season, because he had his rookie year, which gets cut short. He only plays 11 weeks in that one. And then last year, dealing with a lot of different injuries, also only plays up to week 11 in that season as well. The other 2 seasons, the 2021 season, the 2022 season, and then what looks like the 2024 season. His passing grade in those 3 seasons, 91.1, 91.1, and then 90.5 this year. It's just elite quarterback play from this dude, really, since he has been in the league. Outside of his rookie year, whenever he has been fully healthy, this dude's been incredible. You mentioned the mobility, which is something that I want to sort of get into. You watched a ton of him when he was at LSU, and you've obviously watched a lot of him throughout his NFL career. It feels like he's faster now than he ever has been, or at least he's more willing to move. Obviously, the long run, what was it against the New York Giants, where he just had that super long run where it was that touchdown run, and people were like, "Okay, Joe Burrow, I didn't know you had that in you." But even outside of that, I'm watching him extend plays, step up when he's stepping up in the pocket. When I would watch him before, sometimes he would step up in the pocket and it's he's only stepping up in the pocket necessarily to avoid the pressure. And not that he's not doing that now, but he will step up in the pocket. If you commit too much of your pass rush resources to around the edge, and the offensive line is really able to form that pocket and give him room to step up, he will not only step up and make a throw, but now he's keeping linebackers honest because he'll tuck it and run too. So to me, it's an evolution of his game. is that mobility. Do you sort of see that as well being something that it's beyond just like, oh, okay, he just happens to be running a little bit more this year? It feels like it's more a part of his game and how he's processing things right now.
Yeah, and again, like that was a feature of his game at LSU, especially in 2019, less so in 2018, but in 2019 for sure. I mean, all the Heisman moments of him moving around, like the big one against Georgia, where he makes, I think he makes Travon Walker miss a couple, like twice, I think, on the same play, and then he finds Jefferson for like a 70-yard pass, and those were the plays that people looked at and said, well, that's why he won the Heisman. That's what we're going to get in the NFL. And it kind of wasn't what we got in the NFL. Now, we did get the other stuff, which is like the elite processing, the accuracy, and all that stuff. And that's great. But we're seeing this aspect now, like you said, we've never seen before. It cements him as a tier 1 quarterback, not just in this year, but I think like when we're looking at projecting forward, cements him as a tier 1 quarterback, because I honestly didn't have him as a tier 1 quarterback before, and he wasn't this quarterback before. Like I think there was, the Super Bowl run is carried by the defense, and obviously the offensive line was horrible, but the Super Bowl run is carried by the defense. There's a lot of plays, a lot of that passing grade is carried by Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, especially over the shoulder catches. And I think this now is and not to say that he was like the 25th best quarterback. He was like probably like the 6th best quarterback, but he wasn't the 2nd best quarterback, which I think a lot of people thought. Now he's definitely in that group, in that tier 1 group with Mahomes and Herbert and Lamar and Allen. I think those are your tier 1 guys. It's fun to watch now. And they don't have a running game.
Not a consistent one. Some weeks they do with Chase, but like it's some weeks.
Chase had a couple big runs.
It's not as consistent Pittsburgh as it was. It felt like with Mixon, at least the couple of years that Mixon was really on top of things. But no, I do agree with you. When you look at Joe Burrow, it's hard to find a category in which he is not top 5 in the NFL. He is number 1 in PFF passing grade. He is number 1 in passing yards. He is number 1 in passing touchdowns. He is number 1 in big-time throws. He is number 7 in big-time throw percentage. He is, number 3 in turnover-worthy play rate. He has only thrown 5 interceptions. His adjusted completion percentage is 14th. His time to throw is extremely low. His time to throw is 2.31 seconds, and he is still able to operate this way. I mean, that's just incredible. It's not 2.31. It's 2.70. Sorry, I was looking at somebody else there, but still, that's an incredibly fast time to throw with how well that he is playing and the output that he has.
Keep going. No, I like this. Keep going. Give me his average depth of target.
Okay, let's see. Amongst qualifying quarterbacks, which is qualifying quarterbacks with at least 100 attempts, his average depth of target is 8.2, which is 21st in the NFL. His quarterback rating is 107.4, which is 4th best in the NFL.
Give me the pressure to sack rate. That's what we're all here for.
It's going to take me a second to get to that one, but
I'm going to get it before you. But I think
you probably are going to get it before me.
My theory is with Burrow, like I said, is like he's taking so much less sacks when he's under pressure because he's moving at such an insane rate now in the pocket, and that's been. Again, it's just been super fun. So he's 28th of the 42 qualifying quarterbacks with a 17% pressure to sack rate. Not taking any type of pressure. He would get like this, like we saw years where he was getting sacked and we blamed it on the offensive line. And we were right to blame it on the offensive line. However, the guys in the tier 1 group of quarterbacks, even with bad offensive lines, found ways. And now Burrow is finding ways to create offense even with the even when they get pressure in his face all the time. and it's special. Like it's really special. And again, like, every week you're gonna watch the Bengals. I think they're on Monday Night Football this week against the Cowboys. You're gonna watch, I'm sure Monday Night Football is gonna post the stat where it's like, hey, the Bengals are like 0 or 1-4 when they score 30 points, and the rest of the NFL hasn't lost the game when they've done that. Like, you're going to keep seeing that, and it's really not fair for this offense that is as good as any offense when T. Higgins and when they're all healthy. It's as good as any offense. Again, they throw the ball a lot. So you're not getting the kind of benefits that, we're going to talk about Jared Goff in a second. Like, Jared Goff gets some benefits of how good their run game is. Jordan Love gets some benefits of how good their run game is in terms of what defenses have to do to stop the run. They don't really have to do that against the Bengals, and yet it doesn't matter because he's so good right now.
Well, I'm very curious if you still have the tab up. Who are some of the top pressure to sack ratio quarterbacks this year?
Top in terms of high or top in terms of low?
Low.
Okay, low, yeah. So Derek Carr, which is like, we already knew, like, this is Derek Carr is like lowest at 8.4%. That's been a guy who obviously has a history of trying to get the ball off before he's under pressure because he doesn't like taking hits.
Right.
But I think the difference is with Clint Kubiak there, he's creating offense, he's creating opportunities for Derek Carr to get the ball off and create positive plays. That was always the issue. It's like, well, Derek Carr's going to get the ball off and throw a check down or whatever. Now he's, before pressure gets there or when pressure gets there, he's able to, this route is about to break open for a huge chunk. I remember one of them early in the season against the Cowboys where he hits Shaheed, where he's kind of under pressure. The offensive line is getting backed into him, and he throws over the offensive lineman and throws like a 40-yarder or 50-yarder to Shaheed. And the other two that we're talking about today are Jordan Love at 9.1% and Josh Allen at 9.8%. And those two are, kind of similar in some ways in terms of how they're able to kind of deal with pressure. Love is a lot of like, I deal with pressure by making kind of fadeaway throws, which don't always come off, and we'll talk about that. And then Allen is just how I deal with pressure, stiff arming guys and like running around and then making a huge play.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.